Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar event. My name is Kristan Melsness, and I am really pleased to introduce John Eckhart, the president at Code Pros. Before we get started today, just a couple housekeeping. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you. A couple housekeeping items. One, there is a time delay. And so it'll take roughly 20 to 30 seconds for us to react to questions or comments that you might have throughout today's presentation. So we won't respond right away, but I encourage you to go ahead, submit questions along the way, and we will make sure to answer them as we can. Also, we want to hear from you. We want this to be interactive. And so please do ask questions, right? Make sure that you're submitting those. And then we, of course, encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn to stay up to date on the latest content, events, where to meet the team, and certainly keep up to date on the latest activities. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to John.
Thanks, Kristan. So today's topic surrounds how businesses think about and ultimately address aging software. As you can appreciate, many companies struggle with the limitation of legacy systems. As your organization grows, new challenges are introduced. One, the technology systems you relied on to get you to this point aren't sufficient for your needs at this new level. Hope that you can leave with how to handle new technology problems that are introduced by your growth. Hope that you feel more comfortable and confident about what steps you can take to adapt your legacy systems and drive business growth. So, title of this is Solving Growth Problems with Legacy Software. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll dive into some challenges, different options to solve those, and some specific solutions that involve maintaining legacy software. So first off, this is me. I've been developing custom software for 15 years now professionally. Started as a junior developer. Now I'm managing projects of various sizes, all the way from old EHR systems all the way up to systems that handle data management and distribution for retail companies like Walmart, Target, Best Buy. My goal, my passion is efficiency. So things that can make businesses work better, faster, save time, save money. My company's goal is to help 100 million people do more of what they love because they're doing less administrative busy work. So my career focus is running this on business software. Business software in particular that's been in place for a while. It tends to be older software, but software that is absolutely needed to run businesses. So my company Code Pros, this is how I'm going to be helping 100 million people, is a crack team of programmers skilled in working on older business applications. So even with forward-thinking systems, the evolution of a business can outpace the capabilities of its existing software. So let's jump in and explore some specific growth challenges with legacy software and some viable solutions. So first off, what is legacy software? Legacy software has a bunch of definitions. So here are some of my favorite. As soon as you get the software out the door, it becomes legacy. It's old, it's out of date. Or any application without automated tests is legacy. This one's more sobering definition. If you don't have any way to make sure that your application is working, it will be breaking. You don't know when it's going to break because you don't have any way to tell. Another one is legacy software. It's simply software that's not being actively supported or developed. And at Code Pros, I combine them to say that legacy software is older software still used actively to perform business functions. So this is the sort of software that needs to stay in place in a business. It helps the business run, it helps the business move forward, it helps the business operate. Processes procedures, systems, technology is where it all comes together. That's why this software is important. So, some of the challenges as your business grows with this software that you are using could be people scalability, insufficient functionality, poor performance. I mean, the cool thing about growth in your company is that you can reach more people, you can help more people, you can make the world a better place, you have a bigger impact. Growth also comes with challenges. There are many problems with growth. The things that got you here won't get you there. The things that you have learned to work and accept, and the workarounds, the hacks that you can do to make your software do what it needs to do aren't going to work when you've got 5 people trying to do that same job instead of just you yourself. So people scalability is that first concern that always happens. There's many ways that people scalability is challenging as your business grows. Often the thing is, okay, you've got 5 people and you're going to 50. So you have to introduce another layer or 2 of management, because one person can manage 5 people. One person cannot give 50 people the attention they need to be a well-oiled machine. So there's going to be different people that need different access to different things. That introduces data access security concerns. Like, sure, before you could share a spreadsheet in the Google Share Drive or whatever, and everybody could access it and see the billing data, the customer data, the contacts. And now it's like, some of this stuff is confidential, and we don't want everybody in the company having it, just because you don't know who might accidentally post it up on a public Slack channel or something like that. Or not accidentally. That's another concern. So we worked with one company. They had a bottleneck in their billing system when they were growing. Their billing procedure involved one person, one of the partners, the 3 partners of the company, doing the billing himself manually at the end of the month. It took him about 3 days to do, which is not a very good use of his time. And he was the only person to do it because he was the only person that had access to all of the different things. So we built them out. Well, let me not jump ahead. We solved this problem, but it was a big problem that they had. Their software did not support any people scalable way to solve this problem. You want the new level of management. You're starting to have access for financial data for their team or department, but not all the data across the country. But you have to have other people that have access to all the financial data to be able to send out the invoices. So the software that you have might not be able to handle that as you scale up. That's one challenge in growth that you could experience. Next, here's a more fun one: insufficient functionality. As you grow, part of the way you grew might be bringing a new product to market, or you might be bringing a new product to market so that you can grow. You might be changing your delivery processes, the systems by which you get your goods to people, and your software might not be able to handle it anymore. You might get some new larger clients that have vendor compliance regulations. We did some work in the compliance side for last mile delivery drivers. That was a big thing. There's increased volume of support requests, and perhaps the software that you have isn't built to accommodate this level of input from outside people. One real world example during COVID, a community television station that was broadcasting meetings of city council could not, well, people couldn't go to city council meetings during COVID. And the city council meetings have to be open for feedback. And they had a web streaming platform, but the web streaming platform did not have any way to communicate between the city council meetings and the people at home that were watching them. So this was a problem. They didn't have the functionality that they needed in their software. Oh, another challenge that you will run into as you scale is poor performance of your software applications. If you have something that was custom built for working well with a customer base of 20 or 100, when you scale up to 1,000 or 200 or 2,000, whatever that multiple increase of an order of a magnitude may be, there's a large chance that it was not optimized well. It was just made to work well for that small subset of customers. But as you get increased customers and more people are accessing it at the same time, there are performance issues that come with it that can't just be solved by increasing server horsepower or something like that. Another one, well, an example for that slowness of a system. There was a company that has an EHR system that has some reports that it needs to generate to have billing data sent off to the clearinghouses for insurance claims. And the report for some of the bigger clients using this EHR software took 20 minutes to run, which is a problem, especially a problem because it locked people out of the system. They could not navigate around the rest of the system. They could not check their case notes. They could not schedule new appointments, things like that. So that is a poor performance problem. Another one might be non-linear system scalability, and that means for every additional customer, it takes that kind of the hockey stick effect. It takes that much more time to be able to service them properly. And it's something that can happen with people. It's also something that can happen with technology systems. For example, we worked on an e-commerce catalog once where adding items to the cart was slow. It took 1 second, 2 seconds the first time you added an item to the cart. By the time you added the 7th item, it would take 30 seconds for the page to load. So it was so bad that when the company heard that somebody was going to make a large order of 10 products, they would say, let me do that for you so you don't have to use our technology. That's a big problem that people have faced. So let's talk about options. You've got options when you come to this point in growth. You could, number one, take what you've got, throw it away, replace it with an off-the-shelf solution. If there's something out there that works well, exactly the same as your custom thing, well, why did you build the custom thing in the first place? That's something you'll have to think about. Number two, you could replace it with another custom system. You had a custom system of technology built for you. Now you're replacing it with another custom system that has the new latest, greatest technology, and it has the optimizations to be able to handle these things. That sounds good. There are a lot of companies that like to do that. One of the problems with that, and I'm not going to get into deciding between these options too much, but one problem with that is you made a big investment in your technology initially. It should be able to continue to work and grow with you and handle it. And it's expensive to add a new system and throw away that initial investment that you made. Third option is do nothing. Like if it is something that it's kind of a pain, but not really, but people can work around it, maybe you can just do nothing, wait, let it go for another couple years of growth before you have to do something. So that's a viable option. Fourth one would be modernize this legacy software in place. Take what you've got, take what people are used to, take what people love about the system and keep it going, and then incrementally update those pieces that are causing the pain points. So I've could talk a lot about how to make the choice between these four. It really depends, would be my answer in most circumstances. You have to dive in and see what the options are and how they apply to businesses. For the purpose of this presentation, we'll just say that you wanted to modernize your legacy software in place, and that made the most sense. So here are some solutions for those problems that we encountered before, the people scalability, the insufficient functionality, and poor performance that you could put into place without replacing your software, just making the little incremental updates that are cost effective and will help you get where you need to go and grow. So first off, people scale.
Well, looks like John's having an audio issue. We'll give him a second here to get the headset working.
All right. I
There
think
you are.
I'm back online.
You got it. You're good.
Sorry about that. My battery died here. Okay, so we were talking about solutions. Solutions to people's scalability problems. The answer to this problem is when you've got more people and you have to limit the access, you need to put in access controls. That's pretty straightforward. Some software is built initially with fine-grained roles-based access control or other models of access control. Other software, it's completely devoid. If you don't need it in your software, why build it in? Why spend the extra time and money and developer time to get it in there? But luckily, access controls and roles-based access control is something that can be added into software after it's been in use for many years. So our example here was the company that had some problem managing their billing processes. It got too big for one person to do, and they wanted to make sure that data was being shared appropriately within the organization, right access to the right people. So we were able to add data access controls into their software. We were able to integrate it with their Microsoft Identity service so that we were able to SSO into their own custom software using their Microsoft credentials, which was pretty awesome. We could control the access to the different data from their different clients on a role and ownership basis. So we could have people that had access to all the data. We had people that could access just the data of the projects that they happened to be working on at that point. So we tied the Microsoft Identity Platform with their custom software and another third-party project management software in there to provide all that level of access to everybody. We did it for another company too. They had custom branded e-commerce portals for all of their clients. So thousands of portals. When we started working with them, they had one login per client of theirs. And we added features so that now each of their clients can have an administrator, they can have location managers for the different branches that their clients might have, and then they can have employees that are tied to each of the locations so that everybody has the access they need and they don't give certain people too much access and too much control. That addresses the security concerns as well for that. So solutions for insufficient functionality. This is the easiest one. Well, if your system doesn't have the capability to do that, why throw away your system and buy something else? Just add the functionality on. There are so many places that we've added new functionality or adjusted technology to be in line with processes is impossible to count. If the addition of functionality helps your business move forward, if it's something that's more than just nice to have or makes it prettier, but if it helps the business grow and become more efficient, then the addition is a great way to go. We've even seen additions to software eliminate the need to hire additional people, which has saved businesses quite a bit of money. So we think that the technology should support your business and not the other way around. We think that if you have to fit your business into the pigeonholes of whatever software you're using, that's not the best way to do it. If you have processes that are working and supporting your customers, your technology should fall in line with that. So there's the case for adding things on to what you've got. When we were looking at the streaming platform for city council meetings, we were able to add a messaging system so that people watching the city council meetings could provide feedback, ask questions. The people at the city council could receive those and answer them, and we could maintain the dialogue even in the midst of COVID. That was a fun one to do, especially at that time, adding things in the midst of a bit of dark period of our nation and world. Another place where we added some functionality is in a distributor item management system. We're adding a way to take orders in that system. Before, the process was you want to place an order. Okay, you send an Excel spreadsheet to this person at the distributor company, and then they contact the fulfillers, the producers of the items, and get the items to whoever placed the order. And that's fine, except these orders are more negotiated because they are on large scale. So there's room for dialogue and negotiations, and Excel spreadsheets go back and forth and back and forth. And then what happens if the operations team gets the wrong version of the spreadsheet? What happens and they send out too many games or items or products? What happens if the finance department gets the copy of the spreadsheet that has a number that's too low, a discount that did not get accepted by the other people in the company? Then you're going to lose a bunch of money. So integrating the into the item management system, a way to place orders on those items, increases the visibility and gives people a single source of truth for the negotiations that happen when these orders are getting placed. When you're looking at poor performance in an application, the easy thing to say is, well, just fix it, just make it faster, just add more server horsepower. And that's sometimes a great and easy solution. But there are always trade-offs in applications. Sometimes the performance problems can't be fixed by simply increasing the server horsepower. And when that happens, then you've got a couple of different options here. Number one, you need to optimize for the real use cases of how your system is getting used. You need to figure out who's using it, how they're using it, what sort of level of service that they need. For the e-commerce catalog example that we talked, that it took 30 seconds to load the cart when you were adding 5 items to it. That was something that had to be fast. That's something that people expect a website catalog to work like that. So the solution for the poor performance, and that was different than a solution for the 20-minute report. So you got to think about where your technology is serving people and then devise the solution based on that. So the solutions in the 2 cases that I mentioned, the e-commerce catalog speed was we pre-generated the pricing data. It was actually calculating the price. We found over 100 times every page load, and it had to calculate it multiple times of that 100 every time you added another item to the cart. So it was poorly optimized. So we pre-generated some pricing data for it so that it could load in 250 milliseconds, no matter how many items were in the cart. So that was a big win for them, a big win for their users. And then the other one was the EHR with 20-minute report generation times on their biggest reports. That one, we were able to find the problem and the duplicated queries that were happening, optimize the slow queries, cache repeated queries, offload work behind the scenes and bring it down to a minute. If you have, just one more thought, if you have a use case where you need everybody to have access to a report that takes an hour to generate, and you need to have them to have access to it immediately, like as soon as they click on a website, if it's on a website, a good thing to do there would be to offload that work behind the scenes, generate it once a day, once every half a day, quarter a day, and just have the answer of the math problem available for viewing whenever people want to, rather than waiting till they're asking for the answer to start generating it. So there's a bunch of different ways you can improve the poor performance of your technology without replacing it. There are lots of ways to continue using business software without having to throw away your big investment. A little thought about the problem, some guided technical resources can drive more efficiency to your organization for a lower cost. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for watching this. Here's how to get in touch with me. Let's jump on in and answer some questions that people have had.
Awesome. Thank you, John. I have a few questions. We can start with, we'll start with this one here. How can I tell if my existing software needs an upgrade? In other words, maybe John, you could share some of the signs that somebody should look for.
Yeah. How can you tell if it needs an upgrade? Well, ask the people that are using it. If they say, nah, I don't know, it's fine, then no, you probably don't need an upgrade. But you probably you probably don't need to ask them if something is wrong. You probably have been hearing their complaints saying, "Oh, the system lost my data again. Oh no, this report is so slow. Oh no, I saved this, but it's not in the system. Why isn't it there?" There's a lot of pain points that the users might have. If your users are internal users, which is often the case with this software, then just having a quick meeting about it once a year, asking for suggestions. I mean, you should be doing this anyway to ask and see how you could be making their lives easier, because there's a chance they know some efficiencies that could be in your systems that you don't see and could be saving you like hours out of their week. So
Awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
the what's working, what's not conversation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the things. Another question here is, what are some of the things I should think about when evaluating upgrading my existing software versus replacing it? We touched a little bit on that earlier, but maybe you could go a little bit deeper.
Yeah. Evaluating your upgrading software versus replacing it. See if I can get back to that slide. So I could talk a lot about this. I'll try to keep it short. Okay. So here are your options. You could replace it with something that's pre-built. You could replace it with something that you build again custom. You could keep it updated. There are a lot of options. Like the option number one, replacing it with an off-the-shelf solution. This would make sense if there is an off-the-shelf solution that is built for your industry with your specific use cases in mind, that is being actively supported and developed and improved. If you go this route, you should vet the software a lot to make sure it does exactly what you need it to do, and ask the vendors, okay, what happens when we change our process a little bit and we need to do something slightly different? Does the software offer the ability to customize our processes so that we can fit it to how we run our business? Or are we forced into your mold? And if it's something where it is concrete, where there is no flexibility built into the system to accommodate how your business should be run, then that's probably a warning sign that maybe this software isn't the right piece. Um, Replacing your software with a new custom software, that would probably be a good option if you are on some underlying technology, some language, some server that is dead, that is not receiving any more security updates, that is so far out of date that there's no hope of anybody working on this in the future. The cost, there was a big push in COVID from some of the governments, the state governments saying, come back to work, all you COBOL programmers who programmed our systems in the 1980s and 1990s. They wanted to move off that language because that language is dead. And the cost to bring in people that have that specific knowledge was very high. And so maintaining a software that is that old with a dead language is not as cost effective as replacing it with a new system that you can maintain with a less expensive labor force, less expensive and less experienced labor force. So there's a good way to replace new custom system. So modernize your software in place. I like this option because often it is the least expensive financially. The other benefits are that you don't have to have people learn a new system. People are used to using the software systems that are in place. I was meeting with a CTO yesterday, and he said, the best system is the system that you are using. So if you could make that system you're using just 5% better, keep it running for another 3 years so that you can delay that replacement, then that will save you a lot of time and money in the long run. I think there is a lot of shiny object syndrome over the newest, coolest, latest, greatest technologies. Some software development companies will come in and say, well, you built it in that language. You need to be in this one because this one just came out and it's really cool and it's really great. And but there's no real business case in changing your application to something that's completely new that does exactly what it did before. You need your system to do what it does, and it doesn't matter so much what technology that's using. So there would be the case cheaper, less change management to keep what you're using going.
Another question actually kind of piggybacks off of that, John. Sort of interesting. How long after a system has been implemented, before deciding upgrades are even in order? So like, when does it become a legacy or an aging software system, right? So maybe even you're not facing substantial difficulties, but you know the system could be better.
Yeah. How long do you have a car before you have to take it back to the shop to get something done on it? 6 months. There's an oil change. Like a couple years, you're changing the tires on it. There are unfortunately, with the world that we live in, there are things that have to be done to keep technology running, to keep cars running, to keep your house running. There are things that you have to do. So a good thing would, if you do decide to go the route of building some new software, starting something from the ground up, you should make sure that you have a plan for after support with the vendor so that you can say, okay, every year we need to do this maintenance and this is how much it will cost, so that you can factor the costs of that after support into the application that you're building. For some web frameworks and languages, they come out with a new version as much as every 9 months. Some front end frameworks come out with a version, it seems like every 3 months, which is kind of ridiculous. And to keep abreast of the latest security updates, it's good to have those built into the system. So moving to
Oh,
that new version of the language and the new libraries.
active maintenance, it sounds like, in a lot of
Yeah,
cases.
yeah. And your software development company should be able to provide a schedule for that so that you know what's coming and what has to be upgraded when.
Awesome. That actually is leads to another interesting question around how to vet a potential service provider to help with software maintenance like this. Maybe you could share a few of the questions or things that people should look for in determining a right fit. Maybe even this wasn't part of the question, but maybe talk a little bit about insourcing versus outsourcing.
Yeah. Yeah, there are lots of software development companies out there. It can be overwhelming, and you could hire somebody, you could hire a developer, you could hire a company to help. That's the insourcing and outsourcing thing. There are lots of options. How you're going to vet them is kind of similar. You need to look for the past projects that are similar to yours. You need to find what have they done that is a good corollary to the software that is in place. Have they worked in the same industry? Is important. Have they worked with the same underlying technologies, the same languages, the same frameworks, the same tech stack?
Mm.
If they have, then the onboarding process will be a lot shorter and you'll be able to get up to speed quicker. And they will probably have a lot of experience from the other projects that they've done that they can apply towards your project. And you can realize the cost savings of them already have that information in their brain. So if you, I mean, if you want some software to last a long time, which is the case with critical business software, don't go to a provider that's building marketing websites. Don't go to a provider that's building huge traffic scalability websites that are for big events that get used for 6 months and then discarded. Like you've got to find a company that has your end goal in mind. You want to keep that software running for a long time. Find a company that has kept software running for a long time. That would be a good fit.
Mm.
Insourcing and outsourcing. There are a lot of pros and cons to each side here. The biggest pro to outsourcing is the hiring process. There's been studies done, and in the top Fortune 500 companies, the successful hiring rate is around 25%. And that success means 1 year later, is that person in the same position doing well at their job, doing good at their job. And 25% is pretty bad. So imagine you trying to hire a software developer and you don't know how to really assess a software developer and you don't really know how to train a software developer. What do you think your success rate is going to be? Uh, if you're lucky, it will be 25%, and then it will take you 4 people before you find the right one. And you're going to have each one there for 3, 4, 5, 6 months before you discover, they just can't handle this project. So there's the pain with hiring somebody. If you go with an outsourced company, you can alleviate that pain by using their hiring processes, by them having done the recruiting, them doing the training, them taking care of the developers and making sure that they have people that are competent and capable to do the work. So that's one of the big benefits of outsourcing. So big benefits of having somebody in-house would be they work on just your project. I mean, maybe if you do have enough work, sometimes there's another benefit of outsourcing. Maybe you don't have enough work to justify hiring a full-time developer. That's fine. Then hire somebody for quarter time or a third time that's able to maintain the application that you have. Outsourcing is an easier way to do that. The best insourcing, in my opinion, is if you have a very technology centric and focused business and you have a CTO that understands the technology very well, and you have the right people infrastructure to have a team of minimum 3 developers, and they're all working on your product, your service, the way your processes, the way you deliver what you deliver. That's the most efficient way to insource something, so that you have the programmers and you also have the support infrastructure to run the programming team. If you don't need 3 developers, then probably look at outsourcing, so that you can get through the next couple years before you take that jump and have your own programming team.
Makes sense. Good thoughts there. John, we're coming up on 2:45 Central Time, and it looks like we've covered the majority of the questions here. Any closing thoughts you want to add before we wrap?
Closing thoughts. Well, there's really a lot to think about when you are walking through growth of a company. I've experienced it as a business leader. I've seen many other companies experience it. Technology is just one of those pieces, and sometimes it can be hard to know what to do. So I'm happy to be a listening ear, happy to hear what challenges that you're facing, and happy to share some solutions that have worked for our clients and other business owners that I've known. Happy to talk about the pain of growth, the pain and the joys of growth. So thanks for watching. Thanks for jumping on, and I hope you have a blessed rest of your day.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sean. And thank you everyone for joining us. We know your time is valuable and we appreciate you spending some of that time with us this afternoon. As John mentioned, feel free to reach out. You'll see our website, John's email, and our company LinkedIn page if you want to learn anything more specifically about Code Pros, or reach out with questions about a particular challenge you're faced with, and have a discovery call to go in a little bit more depth with John personally. So thank you again and have a great afternoon.